Ahead tonight, what Pinewood Gardens looks like 2 days after this week's unexpected rainmaker.
Also ahead, NEMA defends against criticism it was ill-prepared for Tuesday's storm.
And the latest on double murders from overnight. Is there a link? Find out. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles, as always. It's good to have you with us. Well, with Pinewood Gardens and other areas of the Providence still recovering from yesterday's flood, severe thunderstorm watches started going up all over the country.
For the latest weather update, we head straight over to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean for our first look at weather.
In our first look at weather, that mid-level trough has moved off towards the east of the islands, but we're still having some showers fired up over the northwest Bahamas, as you can see on our live weather radar, right around the Abaco areas, right around the capital, just near the capital, moving towards Eleuthera, and that will be pushing off over the Atlantic during the course of the night. But with the light winds and warm temperatures, these afternoon showers will continue to pop up. But outside of our studios just now, we have partly cloudy skies. 82 degrees is your temperature, relative humidity 70%. Winds out of the south-southeast at 3 knots, your barometric pressure 1,015.7 millibars. That's 29.99 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Farming Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Amid criticism from the public about the timing of storm alerts, NEMA officials dismissed claims that they were not being issued in a timely manner.
Senior Deputy Director at the Department of Meteorology, Trevor Baisden, yesterday defended the Met Office, maintaining that it was tracking the system and did send out the severe weather statements in a timely manner.
Well, we have in place and for years, right, the dissemination of the information via email, radio, fax, telephone, those means, so and also via the internet, so it was disseminated on time.
In a lot of cases, people were just venturing outside, putting themselves in harm's way instead of keeping themselves secure as much as possible in their homes. And so the backlash or the criticism is that, you know, there wasn't enough time given, but there was. People just decided that they're going to be so curious, they're going to go outside and see what's happening instead of trying to stay secure as best as possible based on the situation with their homes and their environment.
Now, NEMA's director, Captain Stephen Russell, suggested that they'll have to now look at revamping the way the agency disseminates information in order to make a greater reach.
Then we have to look at other means, because we rely on you. Do we have to now go into the social media network and invest in that? Or we're looking at Cable Bahamas to just stop all programming and put the weather up on their screens. Because, you know, persons don't just watch ZNS, they watch multiple amount of channels. So we just have to put a stop to that programming and interject. So, I mean, we've been doing it in the past. We have now stepped that up now to make sure persons, no matter what channel they're watching or which radio station they're listening to, there's this interruption now to get the message across. We now have to look into that option now, definitely.
The Bahamas Electricity Corporation says electricity is 99% restored in New Providence after Tuesday's heavy rains. According to the corporation, there is, however, a pocket of Yamakra Beach Estates where power is disconnected in the interest of safety because there is still significant standing water. BEC says it's working with others to correct the problems as soon as it's safe, and it's advising residents whose homes may contain standing water to turn off the main breaker and have the home inspected before electricity is restored.
Well, the opposition leader is speaking out tonight about the government's response to Tuesday night's floodings that left a great path of destruction in its wake. Dr. Hubert Minnis telling ZNS News that he believes Prime Minister Perry Christie has been too slow in responding. And while the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, is responsible for conducting the initial assessment, there are other areas, Dr. Minnis says, the government could have addressed in a more timely fashion.
He should have already called an emergency cabinet meeting, and from that meeting they should have already announced some form of exigency orders where they would have given individuals a certain time frame to replace all the products that they have lost.
Dr. Hubert Minnis, along with Member of Parliament for St. Anne's Hubert Chiplin, carried out assessments in areas like Pinewood Gardens, Nassau Village, St. Anne's, and Elizabeth. And what they found today was no different than what we saw in the immediate aftermath of the floods. Walking through Pinewood Gardens, Dr. Minnis says, was perhaps most heart-wrenching.
Individuals, they're hurting. They're hurting. You have to go in and see it. They're hurting. There's one particular street in Pinewood that's underwater. People have lost everything. Shoes are outside, tennis are outside, they're trying to dry out. Their clothes are outside trying to dry out. They've lost everything, and nobody has said anything to them yet.
But the government isn't the only one that's being criticized in all this. In fact, Dr. Minnis says he believes the Department of Meteorology also fell down on the job as he feels residents weren't given ample warnings.
A weather system coming over, Met Office should have been able to inform, given us ample warning as to the type of weather system and the amount of rain prediction that they anticipate.
I was watching the US station, which I normally do first thing in the morning, and I watch it probably before I go to bed at night. And they had a system come through the Miami area, Fort Lauderdale area, which was severe. And if we just took note of that, where the system was headed, I mean, they actually was telling us that it was coming our way.
This is not the time to allow bureaucratic delay to delay individuals receiving some form of remuneration, compensation. I think this is a time to accelerate the process so that those who have insurance coverage would be compensated as quick as possible. And I'd ask insurance companies to please look at that and deal with that as expeditiously as possible.
Now, just for clarity, the Cabinet of the Bahamas called an emergency meeting this morning and is meeting at this hour to formulate a recovery plan. The Prime Minister told the House of Assembly yesterday that all the relevant agencies were working towards helping every Bahamian impacted by the unexpected floods overnight Tuesday. The Prime Minister added that he would also make a report to Parliament.
Well, still to come tonight, police hot on the heels of 2 men wanted for overnight murders. The latest is still ahead.
And a police officer back in court today. Find out what happened with bail. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.